Hello and welcome back to Griffin's Gaming Guides. Today we're going to review SIFU. Now SIFU released on the 8th of February 2022 on PS5, PS4, PC at a fairly competitive price of $34.99. It's been developed and published by Slowclap and is a third-person martial arts fighter. SIFU is a third-person, revenge-fueled martial arts fighter where to call this game a challenge would be an understatement. You play as either a male or female protagonist who works through 5 areas in the game, taking down 5 bosses who are ultimately responsible for the death of your father. The areas themselves, while not being overly large in size, are deep in combat with a variety of armed, unarmed and gigantic enemies you need to take down as you progress through to the boss of that area where you face off against them in a 2-stage fight. SIFU's combat is pristine. It's sharp and requires precise timing to take down even basic enemies, never mind the tougher ones, but that's where the beauty of SIFU lies, learning through failure. Learning by dying, which is combined with a resurrection mechanic that I haven't come across before. Every time you die, which you will do a lot, especially at the start of the game, you can then come straight back, allowing you to continue the fight. However, this does come with a penalty as you age upon death. Every time you die, you age by 1 year for every consistent death that you've had. So if you've died 4 times at, say, age 23 consistently, you will then be 27 when you resurrect. If you've died 8 times consistently and then fall again at, say, the age of 30, you will then be 38 when you resurrect, and so on. Now, every time you age a few years, you then hit harder, but as a consequence you have lower health up until the age of 70, where any death after this point is a game over, where you lose all XP and any skills that you haven't permanently unlocked. Now this causes you to learn the game, learn every enemy's location, attack pattern, strategy, absolutely everything that you can, as whatever age that you complete an area at is the age that you will go into the next area as, meaning it's a very wise decision to master each level before going through to the next one, as a younger age gives you more of a chance of completing the next stage. Now weapons do play a massive part in SIFU and they really shouldn't be underlooked. Weapons can give you an incredible advantage, especially against a group of enemies or some tough ones or even a boss. If you can find a weapon, I'm not going to say it's like initiating easy mode, but it does make the game so much simpler when you've got a weapon, although these weapons will break after a good few hits, but you can get skills to increase their durability. Now, to unlock any skills in the game, you need to use XP, which you can get by taking down enemies as you go through. Every time you die, you can then unlock a skill, or you can unlock a skill once you're back in your main hub area after completing a stage. And in order to have a skill permanently unlocked, you will need to buy it 5 times. Now the price doesn't go up, so if it costs you 500 XP to initially unlock the skill, it will then cost you for 5 times 2500 XP. But if a skill hasn't been permanently unlocked, if you've only bought it 1, 2, 3 or 4 times, you will lose that skill if you get a game over by getting over the age of 70 and then ultimately dying. Failing that run, you will lose everything, including all of your XP and any non-permanently unlocked skills. Now the combat in the game does have a steep, hard learning curve, which is more like a spike than a curve, to be fair. You go through the tutorial level as a fully maxed out badass fighter who can't die, which makes you think, oh, this might not be that bad, I can do this game. Then, however, you go into the first area as your main character and get your ass kicked consistently by near enough everyone that you will come across. SIFU does have a small training area which is found by interacting with the training dummy in the hub area, but for me it served up more confusion than clarity, whereas going out into the areas in the game you do learn, but you learn the hard way. Now for me personally, I love the SIFU combat mechanics. I think they're crisp, they're on point, you need to learn through failure and repetition. Although that said, I feel like the game is too difficult at the start. It feels more like other games' optional prove yourself areas rather than an opening level. You are mobbed in nearly every section, which makes things feel overwhelming and with no accessibility options whatsoever, which I grant you could be exploited, but there is no clear way anyone with disabilities would stand to be able to do or enjoy this game, which is a shame. Now I do understand why the developers have made the game this way. They want you to learn and master every element, or they'll punish you if you don't, or more to the point, can't. But it would have been nice for them even just to have something, even say put the accessibility options on and then disable all trophies. At least that way other people can then go through and enjoy the game. Then if you want to unlock the trophies, unfortunately if you have a disability you won't be able to do that. It would have been nice just to see something that people would actually be able to go through and enjoy the mechanics, rather than just getting your ass beaten by every single person you come across. Now, online wise, there are no online elements to SIFU whatsoever. It is a completely offline single player game, although it would have been quite nice to go online against other players of similar skill levels at least, just so that way you might be able to get a decent bit of training in. But like I say, completely offline, single player. Right, now audio wise, the game sounds really good, especially on PS5 with the controller putting sounds of the rain, flies and impacts with takedowns taking the priority over everything else. There is a really upbeat, hard dance soundtrack throughout which helps get your blood pumping for the game, especially when you're going through fighting loads of enemies. The characters are voiced well, given the type of game that it is. It's not going to win any awards for Voice Actor of the Year or anything like that, but it does a really good job and does what it needs to do. So with that said, let's have a good probably 15-20 seconds. Let's have a little listen of it. The trophies that you can find in SIFU are a serious challenge, with trophies such as beating the game while staying under the age of 25, not dying once to a boss in a fight, and performing each type of takedown at least once. This game is set to have an ultra rare platinum for years to come. So overall, I find SIFU an incredibly well put together game. The combat is crisp, sharp, and with the soundtrack the game offers, it is very well put together as a package. The most disappointing part, while also being the best part of the game, is the unrelenting difficulty. If you're an angry person who doesn't like to fail, then you're going to struggle here. Whereas if you're calm, collected and are determined to master a game, then you'll have a lot of game here to master. Now, I am conflicted with SIFU, as on one hand we make game guides here at Griffin's Gaming Guides, and personally I'm more hot-headed as a gamer and I'm not a fan of seemingly unfair fights, and even low level mobs can increase you by 10 to 15 years with very little effort on their part. However, that said, I am very impressed with the mastery the game requires and the skill needed to get through a level, which once completed gives you a rush that is missing from so many games in this day and age. It harkens back to the old Dark Souls feeling of being punished by a boss over and over again, then once you finally get the win you feel elated. You get a massive rush of endorphins and kind of that, yeah, fuck you moment. I've done ya, even though you've done me 50 times already. Still, we're the gamers, they're the pixels. But with all that considered, I'm going to award SIFU an 8 out of 10, and I highly recommend the game as long as you have the patience to learn the game and everything that it has to offer. If, however, you're short-tempered and don't like the feeling of being battered left, right and centre, maybe give this one a miss to save any potential controller breakages. So then guys, that's my SIFU review. I do hope that it's helped you make a more informed decision on whether or not the game's worth your time and money. There will be a physical copy that's going to be releasing. As it stands, it's going to be out on the 3rd of May 2022. If you don't want to buy it digitally and you want to get a bit of resale value if you're not a fan, wait until May, pick up the game then. At least that way, if you're not getting on with it all that well, you can always go and sell it and make a bit of poppy back. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of our SIFU review and how you're getting on with the game. If you're looking at buying it, or if you're going to be kind of putting off for the physical edition, or if you're just not interested in it whatsoever. And then whilst down there, you're going to see a little red button that says subscribe. Give that a click, then press the notification bell next to it. That way you won't miss out on any of our future uploads. You guys look after yourselves, and we look forward to seeing you back here at Griffin's Gaming Guides.